So, Beverly, I want to talk about one aspect of something that I've noticed. You have a particular skill set that has evolved very nicely. You've had a franchisee experience. You have privately owned businesses. You now have reached that point where you've hired people and developed teams of people. And I think you have some extraordinary expertise, again, from probably the School of Hard Knocks, on how you identify individuals who will become employees or members of your team. Talk a little bit about your process.
Well, in regards to the restaurant piece, restaurant business is it's no easy business. On ownership level as well as on employees level. Restaurants require a lot of energy and personality. Um, I try to use the approach of, well, when you get an application, a lot of times I find the applications don't speak to who the people are. I don't care what questions you ask. So I look at applications as just an opportunity to get a name and a phone number, but I want to meet the person before I make a judgment on what's on paper, based on what's on paper. So I invite people to the interviews. I use the interviews as a place of trying to connect, feel a connection based on the questions that's asked. And a lot of times you find that what you saw on paper really isn't telling you much about the person. So if I was to judge what the application said, I would turn it over and move on to the next one and move on to the next one. So I find that just sitting with people, talking to them, I always start my interview with a question of, tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't dive right into, well, where have you worked last and da 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 da. No, I try to find out about the person, and then based on how that conversation goes, then I would, probe a little bit more, and then I'd get into the job history and then say, well, so I see you have worked at such and such a place for such amount of time. If it's a short period of time, I would say, well, why did you only work there for 6 months? And then I'd listen to the story. And then I will continue with what the history of the work has been. And I will ask another question. And based on those questions, I can summarize whether I am dealing with an applicant who really is going to be vested. And for me, that's important because there's a lot of training that you do. You don't just put somebody in a store and work. I have to train them the Subway way or the Sub-Ara way, because each franchise is asking you to conduct your business a certain way. And so if I find what I define a hopper, someone that just hops around, I know that that's not what I'm looking for, because all of my employees are trained and it's paid training. It's not voluntary. I pay you for training. So if I'm going to spend 3 weeks training you, which is about an average time to really get someone up and running, I want to know that you're going to hang around for a while. So I look at that. The other thing I like to look at people who want to grow. I don't believe in hiring people who want to just stay in one position. I have needs for managers. So I want to know that someone is willing to work their way up the ladder and not just be comfortable in one position. And sometimes that's tough because you can know a job and do it well, but it doesn't mean that you can lead people. So, that in itself takes time. So there's quite a bit that goes into it, and it's there's a lot of energy, because training is something that I take very seriously, because the company takes it seriously, and because I get inspected every week, I want to make sure that we're not just preparing for an inspection. I want to make sure that every single day that if somebody pops in and I get a surprise inspection, we're doing what we're supposed to do. So that's kind of how I look at. And then on the office part, we have been blessed to really just had a group of young ladies. My husband have a joke that he only liked to surround himself with women because women keep him very organized. And it's not that, you know, he's, as a man, he is very, my husband is very high energy. And so it takes a lot of us to really keep him organized. But because well, we joke around and we say he always comes with the work. His job is to create work for us. So well, we have a great staff in our management office that provides assistance to me on the restaurant side, provide assistance to him on the gasoline side, because I mainly deal with the restaurant side, to be able to do our chores and keep our stuff together.